Hey folks, Jimmy here, aka Palette of Dead. Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to Mortal Realms magazine. This one is the missing issue from earlier this week. So as per usual, if you like these videos, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel and drop a comment down below. It is greatly appreciated. Now, this week is, as I say, it's issue 33. It was missing on Wednesday. It hadn't turned up on Thursday, hadn't turned up yesterday on Friday, but it has turned up today, so I went and fetched it today. So this week we get a texture tool, so pretty handy to have for texture paints and stuff like that, for doing your ground coverings and other bits and pieces. Wipe them clean, away you go. It's got a bit of flexibility to it, so you can press down a little bit with it, it's not going to be too bad. I generally use metal versions of exactly the same type of thing. But the plastic ones will do you just as good. In fact, you can have a little bit of better control with it with the plastic ones, if I'm honest. You also get a pot of sterling mud, which is very handy for all your ground coverings on the plain bases. No point in using the kind of moulded bases because they're already designed to look like the ground and everything like that. Whereas your plain black bases, bung some on there, spread it across quite thinly. You can put ripples in it, you can kind of muck around with it, you can get other texture paints as well, such as like good old different earths and everything like that, like the Martian earth and everything like that. So yeah, so pretty handy to have. Going into this week's issue though, we are greeted first off with the Forces of Order. So carrying on, this is part 2 of the Forces of Order kind of step through to say what kind of force can do what and a bit of information behind everything. So you got the Stormcast Eternals, which we already know about because we're collecting them. So Stormcast Eternals of course stand at the forefront of the battles against chaos, a shining example of the might of combined forces of order. So they are of course the sons of Sigmar essentially. They are reforged from mortal souls, clad in Sigmarite and sent off into the realms to battle against the different forces of chaos. Then you got the Seraphon. Seraphon are your lizard men if you're an old school player or anything like that. So they are essentially dinosaurs and lizards and stuff like that. So the Seraphon, creatures of order and light. The Seraphon are natural enemies of chaos. When summoned by their leaders for Slan, Seraphon appear in flashes of light. Their foes are suddenly assailed by saurian monsters with snapping jaws and brutal weapons and strange arcane relics. So, the Seraphon are essentially an ancient race. They come from the stars. They are led by the Slan. The Slan are kind of these giant toads, essentially full of mystical and magical energy, and they can draw energy from the ether. With the Seraphon, the main forces are, you've got your main core lizard men and stuff like that, so you got your skinks and stuff like that as well. But you also have things like Carnosaurs, which look like big massive T-Rexes, or Spinosaurus or anything like that. You have the Stegodon, which looks like a Stegosaurus mixed with a Triceratops, and then you've got the Bastillodon, which looks like an Ankylosaurus. So they are really cool. I must admit, I do like Seraphon. They have a really nice look to them and everything like that. They look very much kind of like the Aztecs in a lot of ways. So that's obviously where a lot of the symbolism that they use for the Seraphon comes from, the Aztec inspiration. Then on the other page you got the Sylvaneth, which kind of like your Ents from Lord of the Rings. So the Sylvaneth are vengeful children of Alariel the Everqueen. Of all the races of order, it is perhaps they who have suffered the most from the forces of chaos. So the Sylvaneth are the residents of Gyran. They live in glades and everything like that, and they have suffered very heavily at the hands of the plague god Nurgle. So they are very kind of battle hardened and few and far between in a lot of ways, and they look really cool. They are pretty cool kind of units to have, but they look very uniform in a lot of ways. Your Daughters of Cain. So the Daughters of Cain are a religious order of elves from the realm of shadow. Lithe, cruel and quick to draw their blades, they live for the thrill of spilt blood and engage in gruesome battle rites. So they are also good old led by the demi-goddess Marathi, who claims to be the High Oracle of Cain. So the Daughters of Cain, scantily clad female elves, essentially. The Marathi model is a fantastic model as well. It is probably one of the best models they have. If you ever get it, you get two models. You get Marathi on foot, and you get Marathi in her full form, which is this big, massive winged serpent, kind of Medusa-like character. And they do have Medusae as well, which are pretty cool. They are very, very nice. I must admit, I've got just not long had the warband for good old Beastgrave as well, which is pretty cool set, which I'm still halfway through painting. So, moving on to the next page, though, we're carrying on about information about the Mortarks. This one about the Mortark of Night, Manfred von Carstein. A ruthless general and a master of necromancy, Manfred von Carstein is Nagash's Mortark of Night. He has led armies to war for millennia and destroyed countless kingdoms in Nagash's name. So, Nagash always picks his servants very, very carefully, always matching the capabilities of his followers to the task at hand. But as the Mortark of Night, Manfred von Carstein is entrusted with missions that require great cunning or the mind of a military genius. So, Manfred von Carstein is one of the old characters from the fantasy battles. He's a vampire. He also has this dread abyssal, or that kind of that he uses, which is pretty cool, and can harvest souls, which are kind of depicted as skulls inside of its armour. And he is, one of the major Mortarks and one of the major generals for Nagash's army. So he has that really, really cool. So his good old dread abyssal is called Ashgaroth. The Gorger on the Meek is von Carstein's dread abyssal mount. This powerful spirit steed was gifted to him by Nagash. So he is, as I say, he is a vampire, and he has that cool dread abyssal, which is very, very interesting in all honesty. They have a really kind of cool look. The model kit for that actually makes one of 3 models, so you can make either good old Manfred von Carstein, you can make Neferata, or you can make Arkan the Black if you wish to. Moving on to the Mortal Realms, so this is part 2 of Mortal Realms, so this is giving you more information about the different realms that exist. So a little bit of information about Akshi and some art. So it is, of course, the home of dwarves, and it is splintered by the energies of chaos in a lot of ways as well. So yeah, it is very hot, acrid desert plains in Akshi. Chamon, the realm of metal, is not a set of plates, continents and islands, but rather a dizzying variety of metallic domains that hang in the air, each linked to each other by portals and magical bonds. Ulgu, which is a place of secrets, riddles and gloom. Existing in a permanent state of shadow, this is a land of twisted reason and mind-bending illusion. When blocking the light of Haish, it casts darkness across the other realms. So Ulgu is a very, very confusing place to kind of roam around. Then you've got Haish. So Haish is eternally bright, a place of light that can bring illumination as easily as blindness. Though its lands have been broken by chaos, Haish's light is so strong that it reaches even the furthest parts of the cosmos arcane. Then you've got Gur, so the realm of beasts. So they have a lot of giant creatures around there. It is a near endless string of jagged continents. The rib cages of giant fallen monsters litter its open plains. Here, primal, savage violence is everywhere, existing in the hearts of man and beast alike. And then you've got the realm of chaos, which kind of exists in between every realm. So the home of the Dark Gods is not a mortal realm, but a vile, terrifying reality that mirrors mortal emotion. It is linked to the realms by corrupted realm gates, and it can invade reality wherever chaos is strong. So all the realms, of course, are linked by realm gates, apart from Realm of Chaos, which can be linked by a realm gate as long as it is corrupted, but otherwise it can bleed through into reality if needed. Realms, you've got the Dance of Death as your main kind of information of the battle, which is mainly about the Daughters of Cain. So they've despised Slaanesh at most, so he is going up against the Head Knights and Demonettes of Slaanesh for that one, which is pretty cool. It's quite a nice story as well. It kind of gets through a lot of bits and pieces as well. And then you've got your painting guide, which is all about texturing bases. So it says, you know, you can clip out all your skulls if you want to and keep them all together. Just make sure you don't lose them. So, and then it's got some details, you know, putting glue on them and bunging them down and all that type of stuff. Simple stuff really. And then some painting details of how to use a lot of bits and pieces, including dryad bark for your branches, dry brushing over statues and all that type of stuff. And then as it goes on, it finally gets to the Sterling Mud itself, just in that corner, of how to apply it, where to apply it, and yeah, being careful with it. And then of course, when it's all dry, you can dry brush over it with some Ratcar flesh or dryad bark or anything like that, and it will look pretty cool. It looks like a bit earthy and everything like that as well, so it's not too bad. Then it continues with the core rules, so it's all about triumphs and everything like that, so inspired, bloodthirsty or indomitable bits and pieces. Continue with the movement and battle rounds and everything like that, how to fly, everything like that as well, so it's pretty good if you are learning to play. And then your main battle report kind of plan essentially is based in Gyron, and it is the Dead Forest as well. So for the Dead Forest, if you are going to play it, you are literally fielding 2 Dreadblade Harrows, 15 Chain Rasps and 3 Spirit Hosts, going up against a Lord Exorcist, a Prosecutor, 4 Liberators and 3 Castigators, and it's all about claiming those objectives as you go through. Then there's also a pull-out bit which come with it. So on the one bit, it is all about Shyish, so you have Lands of Dust and Bone, going through more of a map of Shyish and the Ossiarch Empire, so which is pretty cool. And the Ossiarchs look very, very cool as well. They look like a kind of bony samurai in a kind of a weird way, and all the different areas of what they kind of class as their empire. Information about Catacross, the military commander of the Ossiarch Bone Reapers. So in his mortal life, Catacross was a peerless commander, and even upon his death retained his passion for warfare, leading the armies of Ossia against the neighbouring underworlds. So he was raised to the position of Mortarch by Nagash, and he continued his campaigns of conquest, bringing many underworlds under his control. So he's a great military leader. He constructs basically all the Ossiarch Bone Reapers are made from bone, of differing varying creatures, so they look very, very odd in a lot of ways, just like that artwork kind of shows there. If you can see it and it's not reflecting too badly on it, there you go, maybe, there you go, maybe, here we go. So yeah, so very, very different. They look pretty cool and they have some really good bits. And then he mentions Archeon, the ever chosen, on the back there, and he being the leader of forces, unified forces of chaos, if you need to have that going as well. And yeah, so really, really good stuff. Moving on to next week though. Next week we're going to get a Dominion of Sigmar statue, so we'll get that statue, the 2 braziers as well. Yeah, it could be alright. It's also going to bring in details about the Great Horned Rats and how to charge in the movement phases and everything like that as well. And then issue 35, we get more Stormcast reinforcements. We've already had that sprue before. 4 Liberators, 1 Prosecutor. Not bad, in all honesty. Right, I'm going to get going. I've kept you all long enough. Thank you very, very much for watching, and as I said before, drop a comment down below. It's greatly appreciated. Thank you for watching. Bye bye now.